Let's talk about the one move that will unlock every other move that you're trying to learn right now. If you've got this locked in, you can then learn gaps, side hops, rear wheel hops, pedal ups. It all becomes so much easier by this one thing that's kind of like magic. It's something that people don't normally see or notice when you're riding, and they wonder like, how did you jump that high? How did he jump that far? Like, what did he do to have that happen? And this is exactly that. If you haven't figured it out by now, we're gonna learn pedal kicks today. So what is a pedal kick exactly? There are a few different things that are going on. At its very base, you're just pushing your pedals very quickly to spin the rear wheel to get something to happen with the bike. But the things that make a pedal kick great are actually your brake control with that pedaling movement. If those two things are locked in, that's where the real power comes from. Now you can push faster, which will make you go higher and farther, but if you don't have that brake locked in with the pedal, this whole thing is a waste of your time. So today we're gonna talk about the technique, and then we're gonna learn it a few different ways to help get you on your way. Once you've got that pedal kick locked in, everything becomes easier. It unlocks so much stuff. And in fact, one of the main comments that I get on the channel and some of my other tutorial videos, they didn't realize that the pedal kick was a part of that. The side hop, for example. So many people were like, oh, I was doing everything else except the pedal kick. So we're gonna fix that today. We're gonna learn pedal kicks. And even if you can do a pedal kick or you have a fair idea of how it works, watch through this video and really lock it in. This is the most important. This is the secret sauce for everything else that you're gonna do as a trials rider. If you can't pedal kick, or if you're not great at pedal kicking, everything else is gonna be hard for you. I guess where we wanna start with pedal kicks are the basics. You're gonna roll along with your feet level, and you're gonna have your strong foot forward. Now, what is the strong foot, or as Hans Ray calls it, the chocolate foot? He made this film called Monkey See, Monkey Do back in the day, which I watched on repeat until I could do everything in my sleep. The strong foot is basically your front foot. When you're riding with your pedals level, that's your front foot. This is kind of fun, but it also is the best way to do this. The easiest way to figure out what your strong foot forward is, have one of your friends stand behind you and without warning, give you a little shove. Whichever foot forward you put out in front of you to balance yourself, that's your strong foot. Now that you've worked out which is your strong foot forward, we can actually dive into the technique itself. There are two main elements to making this thing happen. And the first thing is gonna be what we do with our pedals and cranks. The second thing is gonna be what we do with our brakes. For the first part, working on just the pedal motion, you can do this while you're rolling along. You don't have to be at a dead stop. And what we do is we're rolling along with our pedals level, and we do what's called a ratchet, which is just a quick little back pedal. You could think about going from like 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock, basically, to get the thing done, or starting at 3 and moving back to 2 or 1:30-ish. But that'll give you just a little bit of extra room where you're gonna pedal and push the pedals back to level. That's the basics of a pedal kick. So you've ratcheted them back just a little bit, and then you push forward on it quickly. If you're just rolling along, it's gonna shoot you forward just a little bit, and that's exactly what we're going for. You can practice that as long as you want, just work on that movement. And as you get stronger and better at this move, you'll be able to push that quicker and faster, and that will make a big difference in how far you can go, how high you can jump, just that quickness of that. Now, if you're on a mountain bike and you have a couple different gears and you're trying to figure out what gear to be in, if you don't have a single speed street bike or any kind of trials bike, I would say be in like the third or fourth gear in the back, and then your granny ring in the front. That'll give you about the right thing. You don't want it to be too heavy, because then you can't push the pedals as fast. You don't want it to be too light, because if you push the pedals and nothing happens on the back wheel, you're not getting anything done. So think about that if you have a cassette in the back, probably about third or fourth gear. It depends on your strength. It depends on the actual cog set that you've got on the back as well, but that should help get you in the right movement. One thing you also might want to think about is just experimenting with how far you ratchet back. Now, you don't want to ratchet all the way back so that your foot is at the top of the pedal stroke, because that's just not going to do it for you, but you could kind of find where your sweet spot is. I feel like I go to the same exact place every single time I'm doing a pedal kick, and for you, you'll have to figure out where that is. You'll get a good feeling for when the tension starts to kick in. And one of the reasons why trials riders use a really specific hub that's got really high engagement, which means that the hub connects to the rear wheel really fast and pushes, is so that you don't have to pull back that pedal kick super far to get that good engagement. If you have a hub that has a lot of engagement points, then it will connect right away and have the movement happen. If you have a hub that maybe doesn't have as many engagement points, you can feel that little play where nothing's happening until it starts kicking in. So I guess get a hub with good engagement points if you want to really lock in this trick, or just be prepared that you're gonna have to push a little bit further to get that hub to do what you want it to do. Here's a tip that my buddy Tim came up with when he was learning pedal kicks for himself. He thinks about it as skipping. So the part of your foot that is actually doing the work on a pedal kick is that front part of your foot. So as you're skipping, maybe just take a quick skip and feel exactly that one pad that's always hitting the ground. Think about that as kind of the motion that you're using as you're pedal kicking with your feet. Up to this point, this has been pretty easy, right? So anybody can pedal a bike, and you've been able to do this the whole time, and now you're just working on this really specific pedal motion. But where everything really comes together is when you add in the brakes. Now the reason why you have to be really good with the brakes is so that you get the most power out of your pedal kick. If you're rolling along and you just kick the pedals, nothing really happens. But if you're at a slow or standstill and you do that big push on the pedals, something major is gonna happen. And the more coordinated you are, the less power you're gonna lose. And so I've got my brake locked on, I then let it go and pedal kick at the same time, something awesome happens, whether it's a gap, pedal kick, etc., etc. And so getting a really good feel for the brakes and the pedals working together, and when you let off of one and push on the other, that coordination is what's gonna make this whole pedal kick come to life. So there are 2 drills that we're gonna do to really help you learn that coordination between the 2, and they can both be done at a slow speed. Drill number 1 is the surge. So this is a great one to learn on a slight downhill. For me in the shred spot, I'm gonna learn it on Little Red Riding Ramp, but you can do this in a steep driveway, a little downhill street section, anywhere that just has a slight downhill roll to it is a great place to learn it. And this is really gonna help you lock in the timing with your back brake. So we're rolling down this section, and as we're rolling down, we're actually ratcheting our pedals back so that everything is in place and ready to go. We're gonna slow down using our brakes, and as we come to a stop, we're gonna kick the pedals and release the brake at the same time, and that will shoot you forward. Now for added effect, I like to pull the handlebar up just a little bit, and that will help shoot you forward. Especially on a downhill, you can kind of shoot away from where you were. That is how you do a surge, and that is a great way to learn how to coordinate your rear brake and your pedal. You'll know that you did it wrong if you start rolling before you kick the pedal. You won't get as much of a pop out of it. So focus on that and practice on that. You want to get that pop from being at a stop to kicking and moving forward. If you want to have this like really explosive movement, you can kind of crouch down a little bit more too and really pull back on the bars. That's actually going to help you quite a bit as you get into learning side hops and gaps specifically, is pulling back on the bars as you kick the pedals. So feel free to kind of dig in a little bit further onto that one. But really, if you do nothing else, just focus in on how you're letting go of the rear brake and kicking the pedal. It seems really basic right now, but this one thing is gonna unlock so much for you. And if you have your back brake locked into your front foot, everything is gonna get a lot easier for you. Trust me, timing is everything, and this is where it all starts. Drill number 2 is called the side whip. And the side whip is a really cool way to coordinate your body movement with your pedals. And in fact, you could technically learn this without the brake, but once you start incorporating the rear brake into this practice, you're really gonna notice how big of a difference that makes when it comes to that explosive movement. So in a side whip, you have a little bit of a turn, but it should be pretty easy for you to pull off. What you're gonna do is find something like a curb where you can roll up parallel next to it. Same thing, you're rolling along, you set your body and bike in motion, so you ratchet your pedals back, and you kick the pedals as you push the bike that way onto the thing. Now, if you're slowed down to a stop and then do it, I feel like you're gonna get even more explosive movement out of it, and it's also gonna be more of a static move to the side, whereas if you do it when you're rolling, you'll probably hop forward, which might be kind of awkward depending on what you're jumping onto. This one's just slightly advanced because you also do have a little bit of a movement in it, but if you're rolling parallel or even rolling kind of towards something, it won't be as bad. You do want to lean with your shoulder towards the obstacle you're trying to jump on. So as you're doing that pedal kick motion, just be leaning with your shoulder. I'll demonstrate both of these for you so you can see exactly what I mean. These two drills are a good way to link up your pedal and your back brake, but another way to do it is hopping on the back wheel where you're just pushing a little bit at a time. If you can hop up onto your back wheel, it's a good way to kind of line up and get a good on-off feel for that back brake and the pedal. Once you feel like you've got a good handle on the pedal kick, the next thing you should do is jump to this gap video right here. That's the next progression for the pedal kick.